Welcome everybody to Everybody Eats. This is our first episode on Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Star Talks.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes.
Look.
We'll be talking about
I have
episode
my
1 and
blue
2.
milk and my book's ready.
Perfect.
Good props. I love it.
So, what exactly, were your guys' anticipation, going into Obi-Wan Kenobi?
I'm not gonna lie. I anticipated. I was just really looking forward to an Obi-Wan Kenobi story. I didn't do any really research on it. I didn't look up any interviews. I didn't look up any behind the scenes, anything like that. I really wanted to go in blind, and because I'm a fan of Star Wars. I've been a fan of Star Wars for a long time, but as of recent years with the new trilogy and just the whole fervor that people had about it, I stopped being as much of a fan. But I love Obi-Wan Kenobi, so I was just really excited to see just an added through line to him as a character and how he got to be this master Jedi that teaches Luke. But that was my anticipation for it.
Yeah, I suppose I'm not quite in this. I'm not quite in the same boat as you, Fumbah, but I
Sophia,
was definitely...
you brought props, okay?
Okay. I was raised in a Star Wars, Star Trek home, and so much so that I have now been bequeathed Han Solo ice cube makers of him in carbonite, that level of...
I love that.
Damn, that's amazing. I didn't know
that. Whether I want them or not. But I had been gifted, one of the gifts that I did was I was gifted the Legends Kenobi book. You can't really see it in the blur, but by John Jackson Miller. And I absolutely adored the story because it takes place during the same time, while he's in exile on Tatooine. And when I heard the show was announced, I was like, oh no, I'm going to have to completely reprogram myself and separate my love for the book for this series because it's not going to be the same. Right. I purposely avoided a lot of information because I didn't want to hype myself up too much, but I also didn't want to make myself too skeptical. I know that originally it started out as going to be one of the Star Wars story movies, and then when those were kind of tanking, they were and then the show started taking off. It was transferred to becoming a show. And I thought that would probably end up doing it more justice for the narrative, if anything. I love the character. I think Ewan McGregor does a fantastic job. He's definitely one of the most memorable parts of the prequels, for sure. And I really enjoyed Clone Wars, and so I was curious how things were going to evolve, and where they wanted to take the character. But yeah, no, I was skeptical a little bit just because I'd heard that a writer had been fired, and there was some stuff that changed here and there. COVID happened, obviously, so there were delays. Whoever knows, it's always speculation. I avoided interviews, but I rewatched the prequels before going in just to prep anyway.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I was subdued, but I was still excited.
I was overjoyed. I was finally, they're making some right choices, okay? They're finally putting some time back in with Ewan McGregor, which, by the way, let me just say, he was by far the best of the prequels. You can't even argue that fact. You know why? Because he's been in every episode, okay?
Hold on. Count.
No, I'm not even gonna hear it. No, Obi-Wan Kenobi was the best shit.
That's crazy. That's crazy. All right.
But so going into this, I was I grew up with obviously watching the original films, and I think being able to have this bridge, like Fumbah, you were saying, having that bridge to be able to go from episode 3 to episode 4, we really don't have that in between time, and I really am that's why I was excited when this show first announced. The fact that they're actually going to be bridging that gap. So essentially by the end of this season, they got to have him at least a step closer to being that Grand Master that you see in episode 4, right? So, like, I guess that kind of leads us into the first episode. What were you guys' kind of initial thoughts in watching the first episode? Because for me, sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, so general thoughts. I thought the first episode was fine. I thought, like, again, I tried to come in with no expectations. Like, I was excited, but I didn't know what to expect. But generally speaking, I really love the subtle things that they did in terms of storytelling. I always really appreciated that. I really loved how they made very minute connections to all these characters. Like, to see Luke shirk his responsibilities and his chores to go race on his house, and then how that's a connection to Anakin as like the race, like being a racer, and just show like, yeah, that's his kid 100%. And then to see this sort of half smile on Obi-Wan's face, where it's like, yeah, that was my old friend. Like things of that nature. Like, I really appreciated it. There's also one specific part that I really liked. I don't think it's on purpose, but I would like to think it was, where they, I think the Inquisitors in the first scene talked about how a Jedi cannot forsake their compassion for other people, and I thought that was a really interesting thing, because it's a complete contradiction to what Jedi are, where in their credo they talk about how, I think it's there is no passion, there's peace or serenity, something like that. And because they're officers of the galaxy, they're enforcers,
they're monks.
So they're supposed to, they're monks, 100%. They're space wizards, so they're not supposed to have passion to that extent. They're supposed to be objective, but that's not what a Jedi is in actuality. They're very much like subjective and passionate beings who care about the well-being of other people. So I thought those were really cool things. So like, stuff like that was really fun. And then, it gets kind of mid as fuck. And it's mainly in the sense that, the introduction of the Inquisitors, like I said, it was really cool at first.
Yeah.
But then you spend time with them, like not enough time actually, but then you spend just enough to realize like these guys are kind of incompetent. Except for that one girl.
He is stupid.
He's stupid as fuck. Except for that one girl who's dead ass just a Jedi off bat. Like, I already know your backstory. You're 100% were a Jedi. I don't know in what context, but like, she's kind of a cliche.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go to episode 2 to talk about Leia, because there's a lot to talk about there. But I got a lot of thoughts on that.
Well, for right now, Sophia, what were your thoughts in first watching the first episode?
I would say, so obviously to start with the positives, I thought that the cinematography was quite lovely. I loved how grounded everything looked.
Practical effects.
Yes. Oh my god.
That train was completely real. 100%.
Yeah. 100%.
I thought that it was really great seeing McGregor in this role again, because gosh, he acts his little heart out. He is so invested, and you can tell he just has a passion for this character. There were some things that surprised me. I didn't realize we would get Jawa subtitles.
Yeah, that was cool.
I haven't received those yet, so I was like, that's new.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I mean, I thought that it was a pretty good standard introduction to where we are with the world and kind of how things are going for the most part. I would say a lot of my other opinions are potentially a little bit nitpicky. I did think that the Inquisitors were relatively one note, and personally I would have made different narrative choices in regards to their introduction and in regards to their brutality and how effective they can be. Because that didn't really come off. I also was like, there were a couple scenes that kind of came out of nowhere. Specifically the introductory random Jedi that we get.
The
Master! Where the fuck did you come from? Who the fuck do you think you are?
Who the fuck are you, dog?
This guy hasn't seen a Jedi for 10 years. Like, I'm surprised Obi-Wan didn't just go like, ah! And like shoot, pull a blast out and shit, He's not tapped in the Force. He didn't see this guy coming.
Oh, exactly, yeah.
That was probably the most awkward, clunky scene.
Yeah.
It kind of came out of nowhere, and I'm like, how are people finding you? Like,
Right?
You're Obi-Wan Kenobi!
Years.
If Obi-Wan Kenobi it's been 10 years and they haven't found him, logically speaking, to me, if you are an empire trying to squash out any remnant of hope, you then pronounce the former Jedi and military war hero as dead.
Yeah, which is crazy. It's like this guy who could easily be a martyr for a revolution or a leader in the... You don't want that. You don't want to have that be something lingering, even if it has been 10 years. So it's just the fact that they're blatantly just like, nah, he's dead. Fuck it, we ain't seen him. It was crazy. I was just like, no, we don't know that. You want to confirm he was arguably one of the best, if not the best Jedi. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to have him out there just living in a cave. And then the fact that that one dude really just stumbles onto him, you can make the argument that he found him through the Force, but then they're all Inquisitors and they're all Force sensitive. So any of them could have found him through the Force.
Kenobi is cut off from the Force for this series. Like, that's going to be one of his main conflicts is in relation to his grief, and then also him reacquainting himself with the Force and like being able to trust that can still be in his life. But yeah, so like that was really clunky. Oh, and then I have gripes with the music.
Yeah,
right.
There's like some moments where I kind of just zone because I'm like, oh yeah, this is Star Wars music. I feel properly immersed. And then we reach Alderaan, and I'm like, this is Disney Princess Girl Boss basic Disney music. And I'm like, I don't know. Where's Leia's theme? Or at least a reconstruction of her theme for her as a character at this point, as child Leia. Which I'm happy we didn't get in the trailers, because I think that would have tainted my expectations.
It was a pleasant surprise.
It was a pleasant surprise, because I'm like, you know what? We know plenty about Luke. I'm ready for some Leia action.
That's right. Actually, that is a valid point. I was completely thrown off guard by her arrival. I know, like, I shouldn't have been, but like, and it was a nice surprise in that kind of way. But like, I don't know. In my brain, like, we were kind of promised Obi-Wan Kenobi, old Ben Kenobi, and I feel like they kind of, I feel like they did that. And man, like you guys were saying, Ewan McGregor fucking hits this stuff out of the park. He's just,
he loves this.
You know that he wants to be there, and so like going into this episode, I really liked the like quietness of his like mind, the fact that he's untouched with the Force. I really like the cinematography and the atmosphere that they're really building with the generals. That like Disney does an amazing job with that immersion. Like whoever that they bring on as their production designers are the best of the best. Like, that's a fact.
Also, sorry, not to cut you off.
Go ahead.
That intro sequence, we gotta talk about it. How they just throw you into the shit of Order 66 was crazy. I love that.
Yeah.
When you see these kids, I'm like, oh my god.
I was in shock.
Not the younglings.
I was like, we're watching this. Oh my gosh! Like, it took me a minute. I was like,
no, 100%. But it was a beautiful introduction to a very slow interpersonal story, which is like to throw you into the literally in chaos, and then to have it be complete, almost serene in the sense of you're in the mentality of Obi-Wan once you're introduced to him, which is kind of cool.
Eddie,
I'm so on the opposite end of this spectrum.
Oh, never mind.
I like, here's the thing. I love that sequence. That sequence was beautiful, okay? And the fight choreography was top notch. Like, it was amazing. The way they had stormtroopers coming into the frame, out of nowhere. Like, you don't see them coming, but she sees them coming, and she still is able to block them. It's really one of those situations where you really feel that immersion. But before they do that, they give you this awful summary. And here's the thing. like, I feel like the general base of this like series, like everyone knows what's already happened. You know what I'm saying, right? And I'm not going to accept lazy storytelling when they could have very easily, like, this is the thing, we're sold this bill of goods, right? That this is going to be a personal Obi-Wan story, right? It's going to be from his perspective. And I feel like it was just a wasted opportunity for them to just throw away this summary introductory sequence, right? When they could have very easily made a sequence that explained to the audience why he cut himself off from the Force. Sure, it could have been something that he was scared of, right? The fact that he could have died, or it could have been the fact that, you know, he's feeling all of his people being murdered all across the universe. I just feel like in that way, that would, for me, that summary sequence was a huge disappointment because it just was a huge missed opportunity in my opinion. But other than that, like, I think as far as like the Inquisitors, I think they're kind of they're kind of like the Knights of Ren, right? They're meant to be scary. They're walking around like tough guys, but they're not really doing anything. You know what I mean? They're just kind of there, right?
Just puffing their chest a lot.
Yeah, you know? And that's why I kind of agree with you, Fumbah. Like, I really feel like if they spent more time with like expressing the threat level that somebody's going to be going under with having these people hunt him, I think that would have been an amazing start because we know the risk would have been this high. Right? Yeah. But we keep seeing the Inquisitor being like, stop. You need to not be foolish. You're being impulsive. But low-key, you're doing a great job. Like, what? What? Yeah, and then just takes her credit. So, that was my opinion on episode 1. I think it was honestly, like, it was good. It was good. But it some missed opportunities, I think. But as far as, like, episode 2, though, I feel like completely big shift within the conversation, you know, huge breakaway from that. So like, let's dive into that. Sophia, what were your thoughts?
So, okay, well, first off, I do want to say this kind of leads into the second episode. Right. The girl that they got to play Leia, I think she is a wonderful actress. Yes. I think that they did a very good job casting her. She has fantastic chemistry with both McGregor and Smith. Bale, we love you. He's always a highlight to see as well, for me anyway. Right. Just because he's so consistent. I love it. Every time. But I would say,
and all.
Yeah, 100%.
I would say though that I think Deborah Cho should have like stepped in and been like, "Hey, let's rewrite this chase scene."
This
is amazing.
That scene was bad.
This ain't it.
I was watching that and I was like genuinely, you could put like the cartoon like slipping noises, like the,
like the chicken run song.
Yes, exactly.
It's
the end of the world. Yeah, it would have been perfect.
Man. Yeah, and so I definitely feel bad that she was that's how the chase scene went out, and I think that they could have done something to show off Leia's cleverness a lot better. But obviously still get captured. But I do think that again, her chemistry with Ewan McGregor is fabulous. I think that kind of going into this sort of, I guess, even seedier Coruscant location, very sort of like Tokyo inspired designing, was really nice. The atmosphere was set really well. Weird fun fact I learned, the chick that gives him spice is actually his daughter.
Ewan McGregor's daughter?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's cool.
I was
wondering why she was like got speaking roles. I was like, what's
you know somebody.
Never see her again.
You know somebody.
This is like somebody. All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so I do think that it was the look was really good. I do think there were maybe some brief design moments that could have actually enhanced certain character moments, like for example when he runs into the clone trooper vet who's begging on the street. I think as an audience we see the blue armor and we think Rex, but if we're thinking Kenobi, I think personally it would have been very impactful potentially for him if it was instead yellow, because those were the colors of Cody, which is the clone that he worked with the most during the war. And I think that would have been kind of like this added layer. But as I said, that's a very nitpicky sort of thing.
Do you think that like would you have had him be like that? Do you think like just as a callback, or do you want that trooper to actually be Cody? Because that guy like legit tried to kill him.
I think
it would simply be a callback. I don't think that we need to have him actually be.
Because he high key tried to murder it. Like he blew his ass off a fucking mountain.
Tried to murder that guy.
On a lizard.
About it. That's why it's an even bigger thing for him to then give him money.
It shows his compassion.
Right, it shows his compassion, and it shows that he also recognizes that this is something that the clones were programmed to do. This wasn't something that was within their free will. As we learn from Clone Wars and that section of canon. That's been now established. And then I think that did a really good job, though. Also, the juxtaposition then with the stormtroopers coming in, how they're just replacing the old with the new. And I thought that was some really nice, nuanced world building. In general, like the characters that we meet, I think is very good world building on what kind of early, first decade empire we're living in, and how the Jedi are perceived. In regards to, in the first one, they're seen very kind of apathetically. People don't want to give them up, but they also don't want to help them, or they just dislike them, as Owen sort of presented in the first episode. And then in this one, people look to Jedi, even though people are scamming people as Jedi, magnets. But like people still see Jedi as people that facilitate hope, and that can still be people that help others. So I thought that was very interesting. But I'm gonna let you guys kind of get to some of the other cool stuff, because there's plenty to talk about.
There's
a lot.
I did like the second episode a bit more than a lot more actually than the first. First off, I really loved. I wrote down in my notes like Jedi works as modern day ninja.
Yo,
because that's basically what was happening. It felt really cool to see, like, especially when he was sneaking into that building. It felt really cool to see how clever Obi-Wan is, because it showcases, he was always the trickster, kind of
the diplomat.
He's a diplomat. So I really loved that portion of it. I also loved how the tension was building due to him being unable to show his powers, right? He had to keep it as hidden as possible because he'll be easily painted as a target, which led into one of my favorite scenes where he becomes just public enemy number one and then becomes a bounty hunter thing. And I loved that whole sequence. I was like, yeah, this is cool as fuck. like a bounty hunter's hunting Jedi, that's cool. I love that. And going off of what Sophia said in terms of the world building, I really loved that scene. It really showcased just even though the clones betrayed the Jedi, it wasn't due to their own devices, I guess, for lack of a better term. And he still is a compassionate person, which is beautiful. One thing I did notice is that there are a lot of cameos in this series so far. Like we have Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers. We have Kamal, the comedian.
He wasn't overly distracting to me. Like, he wasn't. I thought he played his part and he played it well. I will say I hope I don't see him again.
Yeah, he wasn't funny to me. He wasn't bad. I just was like, okay, I get it. It felt like something you would see in Marvel in terms of like distracting humor.
Yeah.
It's like this scene.
It was a little jarring.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, like, the comparison, like, you have Ewan McGregor's daughter who appears in a cameo, but then you also have these sort of higher celebrities. And so I think that there's a different tone to the cameo in Star Wars.
Yeah. No, exactly. It seems that way.
I mean, with that being said, if Kathy Kennedy came up and was like, Eddie or Fumbah or Sophia, we got a role for you. You're going to be in one episode of Kenobi. You down?
I'm absolutely saying that.
100%.
110%. Like, who doesn't want Disney money?
Where do I go? I mean,
Like,
fuck the Disney
yeah,
money, man.
like,
I would just like to be the property, man. Did you know that what's shocking as hell to me is that, like, when in Force Awakens, Daniel Craig, James fucking Bond, okay, well, previously.
Yeah.
If spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it. He dressed up as a stormtrooper. Like he was a stormtrooper in the Force Awakens.
Distracting.
Yes, you're right.
It didn't take away from the story, and it was integral to the story. Like Kamal's character was integral, but at the same point, I was just like, this could have been way better in terms of like keeping it straight, because it was playing it up for laughs, and I'd rather him just be like a straight character who was like cracking jokes, right?
Yeah.
And also, I feel like it was cool to see a character, to Sophia's point, be sympathetic and also like find hope with the Jedi. Him being like, "Hey, if I knew you were a Jedi, I wouldn't have asked you for money. I would have just helped you." But to me, it takes away from that moment where it's like, oh, genuine empathy and support is cool, and then immediate stupidity afterwards, where it's like, I'm gonna go up to this Inquisitor and try to distract her, and then gives her all the information she needs.
Yeah,
because you just talked to him.
That's a plot device. That was purely like, here's this exposition you need. Go do it.
Yeah,
go get him.
Yeah, so this is kind of whack to me.
Also, why didn't she kill him? Like, why didn't she kill him? Like, it's not that I want him to die, but like,
I didn't want him to
you're
die,
like you're an Inquisitor. Like, you're aiding and abetting a Jedi. They would kill your ass.
Yeah, but she's not trying to like kill a bunch of people.
Well, you think that she's like legit a Jedi, though?
I think 100% she was a Jedi, especially in the second episode. The way she's talking about Kenobi, I'm like, no, you know him way too well. You had to have been in the Enclave.
Yeah.
You had to have been.
I bet you she's one of the younglings. Like, high key, I bet she's one of the younglings.
Yeah.
Like, in that first episode, in that first scene, youngling, 100%.
Yeah, I was. That's what I was waiting for. I saw the younglings, and I'm like, okay, they have to come back. They're not. They shouldn't just show. They shouldn't show us this and not have at least one of them show up.
I don't know, man. There's been a lot of
there's gonna be that
points of interest where they never came back. It's like, I don't know. This might mean nothing.
Yeah.
So we'll just get your expectations up for that. But what are your thoughts about the episode overall, Eddie?
Yeah, further.
I mean, I thought it, like, to be honest with you, I liked episode 1 a little bit more than I liked episode 2.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I just like the fact that they spent a lot of time on like Obi-Wan, and maybe like part of me was like rejecting it because like in my brain it was gonna be like a kind of a I wouldn't like film obviously isn't like super first perspective, but more like a personal tale within like his perspective of events that are happening. You know, his journey.
So much more introspective and meditative.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was excited to see that, and hopefully we'll be able to see that like as we go forward in the series. I think the thing that took me out of it the most for this episode was the fact that Leia is already Leia from episode 4. Like, she's already completely and 100% fully ready to go kick some ass against the Empire.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, I just really wish that they had gave her like something to grow into, you know? Yeah. Give her some space to grow and like maybe experience some of the wisdom that Obi-Wan has to offer, you know. I think that's one of the things that's going to be exciting about them. Is like her and Obi-Wan ultimately learning to trust Obi-Wan, or her learning to trust Obi-Wan. But what were you going to say, Fumbah?
Well, I just think it's weird to me because I mean, of course, there's always the possibility that like kids do act the way that Leia does in the show, but it's always just jarring in the sense of, to what capacity do you separate a kid from, like, basically a kid who is an adult, right? Yeah. And this is where it gets really weird with Leia to me, because there are some parts where I'm just like, all right, daughter of senators, for sure, you know, you're very eloquent. But then when she told off her cousin in episode 1, I was like, nah, that's crazy. You're not. It was like,
you're 5. You need to calm down.
That's knowledge I found out at 25. I was figure it out at 8. That's crazy. And then like,
come on, she's 10.
10. My bad, 10.
She's 10. Oh,
so,
you're a 10-year-old. So no.
But no. And in episode 2, it was just weird in the sense that she's giving wisdom to Obi-Wan, which is fine. It's like, yeah, she's Princess Leia. She's Princess Leia. So like, I'm not surprised about that. But it's just certain parts where the juxtaposition of child to whatever this is, where she's basically being a kid in the sense of like, hey, are you a Jedi? Show me you're a Jedi. Show me you're a Jedi right fucking now. And it's just like, yo, if you're acting like an adult, you should know the implications of what happens if this dude, he's gonna die. Like he's gonna get got.
Yeah.
It's a fucking problem for this dude. So that's where I also think it's weird.
Doesn't she have like this line where she's like, you gotta trust people, you gotta believe in people,
and then immediately it's just like, yo, fuck you, dude. Like,
what?
I don't trust you at all, and then runs away. That whole chase sequence, I was like,
contrived. I agree. That was very much a contrived moment after she saw like the little bounty thing come up. And she's like, how am I supposed to know you're not the one? I'm like, come on.
Come on.
I do sit on a different fence than you all. Yeah. I actually, I do find what I perceive will be potentially Leia's arc to be rather interesting. And at least something that's going to be very, I mean, it's not going to be flashy, but it's going to be very important for her, because as I was kind of observing, personally, her ability to I don't know if I was necessarily perceiving it as wisdom. I was more seeing it as like dressing down people, because she calls out their she's very observant, and she basically just calls out their insecurities based on their behavior, and I perceived that as her utilizing the Force,
right?
Because obviously people don't really observe like how the Force necessarily works for her.
Right.
And, you know, obviously she may not perceive that as the Force, but I definitely think that I personally theorize that it has something to do with
it, like manifested into her intelligence.
She taps into that so easily.
If that's the case, then that's cool. I do think that's a cool little plot device.
And and if it is the Force, I would like to see her sort of develop that in a way that isn't putting people down in order to try and gain leverage, as she has, you know, with the previous one, but for, you know, instead for growth on how to be a good leader. Because obviously clearly she struggles with fitting in, she struggles with being socially coherent, I suppose, like just socially graceful.
Well, Leia's always been that kind of like symbol of like she's always been that person that like hope, you know, what do you have there? And like in Rogue One, hope. You know, like, it's very Disney of the line, but like, you know, I like even in the original trilogy, I really felt like that was something that she was always pushing. So I think I think that would be if they take it in that direction, that'd be a very interesting way to and an angle of growth for her to be able to develop over time. So also, that's a
so overall, I do think that like I was not disappointed with the characterization. I did think some stuff was relatively tropey in a Disney trademark kind of way. And I was like, please leave that in your Disney princess lineup. Please. But I'm intrigued. Obviously, it's always going to. This is what we're perceiving as the setup. We're now just waiting on execution.
Yeah, I understand.
I would say, like, for me, the rest of episode 2, like, that chase scene was really great. Her doing all that parkour, it looked real cool, but, like, why is it taking you so long? Like, why didn't you just jump?
You are going from a distance.
Yeah.
Are you are we talking about Riva, correct?
Yeah,
Riva. Riva, like, she's doing great. And to be honest with you, I was very, very happy for the children out there. I was very, very happy by the fact that she got him, the Grand Inquisitor, at the end of the episode, because he was so incompetent. Like,
that sucks.
Like she's like she's being resourceful. She's like using the environment around her, the people that know the city better than they do. Like she's like investigate, like she's a murderous investigator, but she's investigating it like actually really resourcefully, you know. And it just felt like that, like literally you could have swapped out their uniforms, put them like he could have been like the police commissioner, she could have been like that rogue cop that in like all the action movies, and it would be the same exact cookie cutter kind of thing. Only the difference is obviously lightsabers. So, and also his face looks way different than in the cartoon, and it bugs me because they've done that species. They've done that species before in Star Wars, and they nailed it. And then they did it here, and it looks like a human face when it should be like longer.
From animation to real life is always going to be jarring. Though.
They've definitely done that species in
done that in the
in episode 3.
Then there's no excuse.
The planet where he goes, where Obi-Wan goes and confronts Grievous. That's
it. Oh, I haven't seen the prequels in a long time.
Yeah.
So
I was glad. I was like, I'm glad that I don't have to look at this abomination of a character any longer. Like,
you know what?
I got the yellow Sith eyes right.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy is like when it comes to the Sith, and this is me going from Knights of the Old Republic. For you kids out there. The Sith have always
what
been
kid is
very...
playing Knights of Old Republic?
Nobody knows what that is. I'm a dinosaur.
Well, you just dated yourself hardcore there, homie. Although the revision one's coming out soon, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that.
Sorry, what were we saying?
But like the Sith have always kind of prided themselves off of, you know, like going up the chain by any means necessary, in the sense of like, oh, this person killed my last Padawan. Good job. It's almost expected because your whole thing is like passion. So it's like, hey, how badly do you want to achieve your goals? So in terms of being the Sith, it is kind of weird to have a dude be like, hey, you're going too wild. Like, to me, you would think he would be like, good job. That's dope. Keep doing that. Keep doing that. Like, don't get stupid. Yeah. But like, keep. I'm glad you sliced her hand off. She was getting out of line. Like, that. You would think that they would foster that kind of environment, but I guess it is different because it's like
Disney.
I'm forgetting the context in terms of Knights of the Old Republic. It's like several thousand years. But
I mean, they were definitely. I think they were trying to give up a more bureaucratic kind of system.
Yeah,
and I did get undertones of potentially classism. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's actually happening.
Oh yeah, because he said we found you. He said that we found you in a gutter, right?
Yeah,
that's some definite classism right there.
Or if like you're lesser than us. But I also think of like maybe the Inquisitors were all somewhat of Jedi, right? But maybe she was.
They're supposed to be all made up of ex-Jedi. Yeah. Or
Force sensitive
Force users in general.
I feel like it's more like they're Force sensitive users. Maybe she was actually a Jedi, and it's a sense of like, you aren't as ambitious as us. You're the lesser of us because you have ethics. Yeah, that's what. You have a code.
Yeah, and some amazing parkour abilities. Yeah,
that take forever.
Take way too long.
So, parkour abilities though does not a rounded character make.
No,
I have been struggling a little bit with Riva simply because while she does have specific motivations, I do find her to be very one note still.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that we get some more nuance to her, and I don't think either. I'm not sure if it's the actress or it's the directing or a mixture of both or what it is. She's coming off very flat to me.
Yeah.
Very one note,
her performance as well. So I'm obviously, as usual, I give things the benefit of the doubt. You always have the ability to win me over by the end of the last episode. But I do think that a third of the way through, and I still don't really
know you.
For you, I feel like I should be more invested in you, or actually, if anything, more scared of you. At this point, I didn't feel that way.
So this is just kind of goofy, but to move on for the sake of time. Let's talk about expectations. What do you guys expect for future episodes to be like? Not to cut you off, Eddie, unless you had something.
I mean, no, I was literally going to be like, well, yeah. So like, where do you guys see this character's potential arc going? Because to be honest with you, like, if I had to just make some assumptions, like. They've already, by the end of episode 2, they give us the introduction of Darth Vader, aka Anakin Skywalker. Spoiler alert, for those who don't know. Within his like hot bath tank, getting like all robotically assembled, right? So they have that portion of it, right? And I think they're setting her up as this bad guy, but they've already done this with Fallen Order, right? Where they have the Inquisitor, right? Where she's the bad guy the entire time, and if you play that game, she whoops your ass. Like a few times, like it took me so many times to beat her, right? But when you finally do it, like all of a sudden you hear
else because she was specifically someone else's. I think the other Jedi's former Padawan, and so there was that emotional conflict there in regards.
It's the same storyline,
but yes,
for that
pretty
character.
much,
Because that's bad.
So my prediction for Reva is I think she's going to be a really intense fight. And then she's gonna get murked by Darth Vader. Like that's my high key prediction. Cause Darth Vader don't give a fuck. He's like, this is my old master. You're gonna step down.
Darth Vader about to be like, you think you're mad?
Yeah. Yeah. Just bye bye. Yeah. This guy cut off 3 of my limbs. Fuck you. Go sit down.
Fuck you.
I had totally forgot that Obi-Wan did not know that Darth Vader was alive.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that caught me by surprise.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this hits different, actually.
I know, because you actually felt it. It was one of those moments where it was like, this is a personal moment for Obi-Wan, and you felt that moment with them. And I really wish that there was more of that kind of thing that they were pushing forward, right? Because right now it feels very much like a third-party perspective, right? Instead of like that secular, like, let's get in deep with like how are you doing? You know, like with Obi-Wan Kenobi. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I agree.
We
like
gotta
one of my
embrace the emotions while on the run.
You're right. Go. Yeah. Hello there. Yeah. So yeah, what do you guys think is going to happen from here on out? We're a third of the way through, so we got 4 more episodes.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna be stuck with. Not gonna say stuck. I don't think we're gonna be with Leia for much longer.
We're stuck with her.
You know what I mean? Like, at least I hope we're not continuing that plot line for much longer, so that we can focus on Obi-Wan Kenobi. And that's like too many plot lines to worry about. So I think the Leia plot line is probably gonna be done in episode 3, and it's gonna be focused more so on Anakin and Reva, and potentially Darth Vader as the series goes on, right? Or absolutely Darth Vader as the series goes on. Or to what capacity, I'm not sure. But I do have a feeling like episode 3, Reva and Obi-Wan will probably clash. If not episode 3, then episode 4. And then it's just setting up for the big bad, which is Darth Vader. Yeah.
I think that I also agree. I don't think Leia is going to be with us through the entire 6 episodes. I think if anything, we might get like an addressing of her in an epilogue type fashion, potentially at the end, just to be like, oh, we have now wrapped things up. But okay, yeah. But I do think that likely she will be wrapping up by the 4th episode, because I think that we're now, because they're gonna have to, now it's making sure she gets back to Bail and her family, and so I think we're gonna get one episode where we just get them spending a little bit more time together. She can complete a certain trust or confidence or wisdom arc in relation to him, and then she gets returned proper the next episode, and then I think we're gonna get some kind of melodramatic, very close but not touching moments where Vader is going to be very close in proximity to Leia, and it's gonna drive us crazy. For the melodrama, because that's one of his kids.
That might actually be kind of brilliant, because originally in the original film, right, A New Hope, right, you just assume they're blowing it up for because it's our home planet, right? But if they actually discover that the senators or the Senate is conspiring against them, that's a huge kind of thing, and I think it might even reinforce some of the guilt and sadness and that Leia's gonna feel when she sees Alderaan being blown up in Episode 4. Again, spoiler alert.
If you haven't, I don't know what you're doing. If you don't already know.
Go watch it. Stop watching this. Go watch it.
I swear to God, if someone hits our comments like, "Yo, spoilers," it's like, "Yo,
I told you. I told you.
You should have been.
Have you been living under a rock, sir, madam?
Madam.
Yes, and then also the final thing I would say is, you can bet that we will get a certain someone as a Force ghost by the final episode. Potentially by the final 10 minutes.
Probably.
Because here's the thing. Obi-Wan has been avoiding his training, and I think the last half is going to be him either he's going to pick it up at the very end of the series and like actually start training on that, or he's going to begin that training halfway through, either because Leia inspires him to do so, or something to that effect.
I mean, he's gonna have to, because he's gonna have to fight Reva, and then Reva's gonna have, because like I think Obi-Wan's gonna realize I have to protect Luke, but I'm also responsible to protect Leia as well, everyone. Right? Yeah. And I think that he's gonna make that realization that like I can't not be in tune with it.
I have to be a Jedi.
Yeah.
And I do hope that we meet our ghost friend, in the sense that there's a conversation, right?
Just a regular dialogue conversation.
Just I want it to just be juicy. Like no bullshit, no music, just them talking. And
God, you know what? I'm gonna cry. It'll make me freaking cry, and I don't think that's fair.
Like that'll just hit so different. It was just a good like minute or 2 minute scene of a master and people having a conversation. That's all I want. I hope they do that.
Because he hasn't talked to him since he died. Like that's a long ass time to finally be able to like hear his voice and see him in person. That's got to be like, and Ewan McGregor would be able to carry that scene, no problem.
Oh, for sure.
I'm sure Liam Neeson would be down to do it, because he accepted the role of Qui-Gon Jinn, like even before he read the script. Like he didn't know he was gonna get like killed. Again, spoiler alert. But I agree.
Do you have any specific like theories? Or
I mean, like I said, I think if I could put a bet out there, I can almost guarantee y'all that Vader's gonna be killing Reva, because it's like they're setting her up to be this bad guy, but you can't have two bads going at each other, right? And I think that's kind of within the Sith ideology, right? If you're in my way, I'm going to take you out of my way, right? That's very much that Sith mentality.
That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I would not be surprised if she's kind of representative of, like, she's going to have that arc. It would be lovely if she gets that full arc with Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? Where she's still fighting him. And then... What?
Wait, hold on. What if the reason she's so pissed off is because he killed her idol, Anakin Skywalker? Or brutally made him, right?
No.
Yo, what if that's what's gonna happen? Hey, yo, listen, that might happen. And then he murks her, because like, how dare you try to kill my prey? You know what I mean? Like, yo, imagine, it's corny, it's cringy, but it's Disney. That can easily happen.
Disney's been playing it really safe with this. I don't know if they let that fly. I don't know.
That's my bet. That's my bet. It's corny as fuck.
I'm gonna.
You know what? I definitely think I'm very confident in taking money from you. So let's go.
Let's do that bet, Fumbah. I'm very down for that.
$5, 100%. I'm almost positive.
Bet, bro. Okay, fine. It's on the recording. $5. I'm good for it. Let's do this stuff. But pretty much, I think universally, I think we can all agree she's gonna die. She's gonna die. Because
whether it's still raging against Obi-Wan Kenobi or potentially switching sides.
I think that'd be the best kind of ending for her to have, because she's really, really manic and like all over the place right now. Right. Great investigator, great inquisitor, right? But she's very much on the dark side, and it'd be great for her to be like for him to be able to bring her back, to be the diplomat that Obi-Wan Kenobi is, right, and bring her back over to the light side, or like closer to the light side, only for then Vader to sense that weakness within her and take care of it, you know.
That's very much a possibility.
Because that's very much Fallen Order, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't be upset if that's what they decided to do with that character. They saw that it worked. Why not just do it again? You know.
I mean, no, that's a problem, right? It's just like, what's the point of this character if you already seen it again? Yeah. And granted, like a lot of people haven't played the video games. I did, but I mean, like,
it's a good game. Go play it.
It's a good ass fucking game. I highly recommend people to play that. But I do think that if that's what it is, I'd be more disappointed in that, only because, like, well, we've already seen this character literally in a Star Wars universe, and I feel like you're setting it. That's a pure plot device at that point, and it is very blatant. So I wouldn't like that.
So overall, what would you guys say is like your rating for this? And you can use any like Star Wars machine or character or species to grade that for you. What would you guys grade for them? For me personally, I would give this series 1,000,000 Jar Jar Binks. Okay.
What is the scaling of that?
You think about that and the character. Okay.
Sounds like chaos. Sounds like Darth Jar Jar energy.
It's a lot of Darth Jar Jar energy. Because like it's not bad. It's not great. Right, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I think a lot of people are, right? And that might be kind of one of the things that Disney's struggling with right now, is that they tried to be risky with Rian Johnson and it bit them in the ass. Like, that film, it was so divisive and it broke so many of the lore that had previously been established, especially for Luke Skywalker. Like, the things they did to Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi, terrible, right? So there's a lot of people out there where, like, they try to do a risk, and now they're like, screw it, we just got to play it safe. Just give them a cookie cutter. Here's what you're going to get. You're only going to get 6 episodes. It's only going to be a limited series, right? But here's a little taste to make you shut up, you know? So I would say, for me, it's kind of like, if we're doing it like 1 out of 7, I'd give it a 5.5, because I'm really I'm channeling my Princess Leia, and I'm really hoping that they're gonna turn it around, or not turn it around, but like nail it and land the story that we're all really wanting to see, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Land in good form.
Yeah.
Fumbah?
Yeah, so I give this 2 R2D2s and 3 C-3POs.
Out of what?
Wow.
I'll expand on that later. But
somebody text him real quick. Hold on.
A lot of the sentiments that Eddie had is kind of where I'm at. I think that there are a lot of things that are great in this, and there are a lot of things that are not great, where I feel like it can be very cliche at a lot of moments and very cookie cutter. But I love these very nuanced and very personal moments that happen, and that's what I really was hoping for with this story. I really want to get into the mind of Obi-Wan Kenobi after 10 years of exile, essentially. And you know, I do think the pacing's okay. I think that there's some parts that could be taken out for time, but I think generally it's a good setup, so I'm excited to see where they go with the story and how they expand on it. So in an actual scale, it's basically 5.5, same as, because like I love R2D2, and I sometimes like C-3PO. So it's like, so it's kind of balanced in that way.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you, Sophia?
I give it. I would give it 4 broken Lolas. Because
hold on.
What the hell is that? What is
a Lola? You're a name dropping these people that.
Yo, Sophia, who do you want? Who?
It's Leia's little ladybug disc robot. Like.
Oh. I completely.
I blocked that part out. I blocked.
I didn't care at all about.
Like
that.
when the robot got broken, I was like, good.
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
good.
that's dope. Yeah.
It's five broken Lolas because Obi-Wan responds good.
I love it.
Yeah, so I mean, I would say that I'm definitely on, like, I don't think I'm quite as high as you guys, but just because I am skeptical about areas where they're going to play it safe in regards to, like, trope narratives, and I'm really hoping that they expand or at least add more depth or encourage better performances out of the characters that are just kind of one note at the moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I'm hopeful they will land on their feet. I think there's a lot of expectation that we place on this as Star Wars fans, which is why we are one of the worst fandoms ever, because you can never please us.
No.
But I think that generally this is a good start, and I'm not going to let my negative emotions sway my optimism for what's to come, and that's just it. I rate it high enough to where it's because it wants me to keep watching, and because I love the characters and I love the actors that are doing it. I think that it's going to be well worth it, whether or not it's how we wanted it or expected it to go. I think this will still be a relatively solid chapter in the new Star Wars canon, and hopefully one that's going to leave fans relatively satisfied, and if not, maybe a little bit, emotional. So
hopefully, yeah. God.
Hopefully, I hope I cry. I
mean,
I better cry. If I don't cry, it's a problem.
If I don't cry, it's a bad show. This is like throw it away.
I guess to kind of close this session off, I wanted to ask you guys, what is your favorite Obi-Wan Kenobi line or quote? I think the classic obviously is the strongest offense is the swift and decisive. No, the strongest defense is the swift and decisive offense. And he does like a little with it. That was a Clone Wars one.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
I'm delusional. I'm sorry, I haven't slept in a few hours. All right. Well, Sophia, do you have a favorite quote?
Oh man. I think just because it's such a mood, my favorite is well, I mean, just because it's in every single bit all the way to the original series. Right. Well, hello there.
Hello there. Yeah.
Hello there. Hello there. Hello there.
It's a classic. Yeah.
I mean, it just, I don't know why this line always gets me. And it's probably his most notable line, but I just have to go with it because it's just like, it's over, Anakin. I have the high ground. Like, it's just so good because the fact that he does a backflip and it's just like, what say you now?
Like, I wish Anakin would have just been like, okay, and then just like hopped off and then like kind of walked along perimeter instead of just being like, I'm gonna hop over your ass. What?
Like, underestimated my power.
No, I didn't.
Just get got it.
I've seen you jump 1,000 times, motherfucker. No.
Yeah, I know you, dog.
No. I'm in the prime spot.
And you know what we were responded with another? It would be, we've come to rescue you. Good job.
Good job.
Oh, that was a brilliant line. That was a brilliant.
Really
good job.
To rescue you. Good job.
He's like hanging there like, my life sucks. Yeah.
You're great. Yeah.
Doing wonderful.
Yeah. But at least Anakin fell in love. And that right there is writing and sand. I don't like sand.
It's coarse.
It gets everywhere.
It's rough. It gets everywhere.
It gets everywhere.
We didn't even talk about Hayden Christensen, but I'm excited for him to be.
Yeah, me too.
We are going to. I got plenty of stuff to talk about him in regards to further episodes because there's some good stuff out there. But let's save that for another time.
Yeah.
All right.
Solid session. Please like, comment, and subscribe, guys.